Hello and welcome to another episode of Experimental Design, Discourse, and Disclosure. I'm Darren Jackal. I'm in the studio. I'm going to be talking about product development, design, and mountaineering. In the last episode, I introduced the long-term project of the three-person winter shelter that I call From the Road. I also mentioned that I'd like to use this channel and these episodes to do case studies on the various projects that I've had in the works over the past several years. In this regard, we must really return to the user and their needs to really understand how the projects and the products that will come out of these projects are meant to satisfy those users' needs. Let's make a coffee and talk a little bit about mountaineering. Ernest Hemingway said, "There are only three sports: bullfighting, motor racing, and mountaineering. All the rest are merely games." When you mountaineer, you're generally going to be working with at least one other person on a rope in a partnership. In ski mountaineering, with the dangers of glacier travel, I prefer to be in a team of three. In fact, when you put a rope on, you change the dynamic between the individuals, where you are sort of entrusting your safety and your life to the people that you're with. And this brings me to the point about the gear you take with you when you're pursuing such a thing as a mountain. Not only do you have a rope that you will all use, so you can consider this to be group gear, you really need to function as a team. You're going to probably bring your shelter and your cooking equipment as group gear also. So this is a bit in contrast to the trend that I've seen on YouTube, where you have backpackers that are getting together and going on these winter trips. And it seems that when they reach their camps in the evening, they all operate independently. They have their own shelters, their own tents, they have their own cooking equipment. That this is not the way a mountaineering team operates. Weight on your back may be worth carrying if there is a benefit down the road. When you get into camp, there's often a lot of time sitting around and waiting because the nights are long and you're going to be in your camp for a while. So having a tent with a floor on it doesn't provide many other activities other than perhaps sitting up or lying down. And not having the floor is beneficial in the fact that I can use the snow I'm camping on as part of my structure. I can dig down into the snow to create much more space for us to hang out in and melt snow. I can sit up comfortably. I have a place for my legs. I can stand up if I want to, take clothes on and off, stretch. In the past, I've camped on a glacier with two others in a three-person standard tent, and I found that to be a really difficult situation. Three people in a tent trying to put clothes on and off, get comfortable, get in and out. That's why this shelter that I'm working on has three doors, so everyone has their own way in and out. You save a lot of energy not having to crawl over people. So in my opinion, there's great benefits from not having a floor in the tent. You can wear your shoes, your boots inside. You can spill with impunity. Inside a normal tent with a floor, if you were to spill a liter of water, it would be a disaster. And if you were to spill some fuel in there, it could be deadly. Anyways, in terms of mountaineering, I think it's important to remember that it's done in a team, and that team works collaboratively and collectively to attain the goal of reaching the summit. This is much different than three people backpacking in the mountains in winter. In the most simple terms, a case study can be thought of as an analysis of something for some reason. I am planning to do case studies of the various projects I have in development in order to determine whether or not I will continue them in the future. The product development process I use can also be used as a foundation for a case study. As always, I will start with the user and their needs. In the case of the winter shelter, it starts with the 3-person team overnighting in the mountains as they attempt to climb high and remote summits. In the most general terms possible, I would consider the team's needs to be shelter, food, and water. However, there are multiple more subtle needs that need to be addressed in order to make a product not just useful, but usable and desirable. The designer must go beyond simple product characteristics, such as how heavy is it, how much space will take up in my pack, how complex is it, how strong is it. In a weighted matrix, the perfect outdoor product would have no mass, 0 volume, be built of 0 parts, and be unbreakable. These characteristics are very easy to quantify, and in this case, they would score a 0 on all these factors. This is, of course, not possible. Giving each of these traits a weight is also not difficult, depending on how granular the designer wants to get. An example would be mass. I can use kilograms to show less importance, or grams if it is of critical importance. I can also weigh the score to reflect this as well. However, there are many other factors that will come into play that will make the product successful. These may be attributes, behaviors, etc., and these may be harder to quantify. For example, let me consider a tent that has no way to enter or exit. It would not be very useful. In fact, it might be useless. A zipper in the tent could be used to get in and out, and it could be called a door. As a door is essential in the matrix, a tent with a door would be given a 0, and one without a way in or out would be given a 1. This would then be weighed to reflect how important the feature is. I used a door as an example because in design, a door is considered to be a special kind of feature that we call an affordance. Affordances are characteristics or properties of an object that suggest how it can be used. It shows a user that an object can be interacted with. An affordance is, in essence, an action possibility in the relation between user and an object. The zipper in my shelter offers the possibility of getting into or out of the tent if you know how zippers work and can operate the zipper. I've put 3 potential openings in this shelter as I believe they provide the user with an essential action, like effectively evacuating the shelter in case of fire. I also think the absence of a floor gives the user an opportunity to enlarge the interior space of the shelter by simply digging into the snowpack. I consider this to not only be an affordance, but the best kind of an affordance, as I'm getting something, the opportunity to enlarge a space, by getting rid of something, the floor. The megamid has often been referred to as a pyramid or teepee style of tent. Now, while this may describe the tent's shape, it does not describe its construction. I refer to the megamid and the From the Road winter shelter as a center pole tent. And it's the center pole that offers an opportunity for the designer to create another way of cooking inside a tent. It is the center pole that provides the designer with the possibility to combine the structure of the center pole that holds up the tent with the chimney to exhaust toxic fumes from cooking inside the tent. The challenge to the designer is to make this happen in the most efficient and effective way possible. In design, there are often times when this makes sense to combine features, but this is no easy task. In the past, I've seen attempts to combine the center pole and the chimney into a single unit, where the chimney itself becomes a structure necessary to also hold up the tent. And I have not seen a solution that I would call successful. As I have said before, when I first encountered hot tents that use thin titanium or stainless steel shim stock as a chimney, I immediately saw a solution that combines a fixture used for holding up lights for photography with the shim stock running inside as an exhaust tube. While I've placed the chimney inside the center pole, I have not combined them structurally. I'm amazed that I have not seen this solution before. There are numerous design decisions that have brought me to where I am at this point, and one of the most critical components to making this work has been what I call the structural elbow. This part has seen many iterations that have been built and tested for use with the original boiler configuration. And once I developed a solution that worked for melting snow and boiling water, I then knew it would only be a matter of time before I wanted to try and burn wood inside the firebox like the hot tents I have seen. Melting snow and boiling water does not produce a lot of heat that goes out the chimney. Burning wood inside the firebox with nothing to absorb the heat makes for very hot exhaust gases. And while I knew what I was doing was probably going to destroy my latest contraption, I needed to do it in order to move on to the next phase where burning wood inside the tent would not melt the structure. The decision to allow for wood burning has led me to where I am now, and in the next episode I will take a more detailed look at how I came to this point and where I would like to go with this project if the decision is made to continue. Some final thoughts. Designers must have a variety of skills, and these include, but are not limited to, things like creativity, imagination, and visualization, as well as other design sensibilities related to form, aesthetics, style. However, to be a good designer, the ability to empathize with your user is paramount. If you cannot put yourself in someone else's shoes, you will never be a good designer. So that's it. I'm Darren Jackal. I'm in the studio. I talk about product development, design, and mountaineering. Thanks for watching. This has been Experimental Design, Discourse, and Disclosure.